What's up, YouTube? I'm back, Brian, aka the Chaotic Dragon. Back again. I said that already. Oh well. Anyway, today what we're going to talk about is the update to the Yu-Gi-Oh game, uh, and why you shouldn't freak out. That's today's topic. Now, first things first, let's go ahead and get started. Uh, they're going to make some rule changes, supposedly. Now, I do say supposedly because I think it's Yu-Gi-Oh organization or whatever. Whoever does the translating for this thing always kind of makes a mistake when they do new mechanics. Like they did it with Pendulum Monsters. They made the mistake of saying that you had to put a specific monster in each zone. So it was like your high scale had to be on the left and your low scale had to be on the right. And as we all know, as Yu-Gi-Oh players, that's not necessarily the case now. What they have done here is they have made some minor changes, and in those changes is they've put the pendulum zones in the actual back row. And the reason why you shouldn't freak out is most pendulum players ain't playing a whole lot of back row. That's just the fact of the matter. They're just not. So it's really not a big deal that the pendulum zone back row is being taken up. Not a big deal, don't panic. These are the new Link monsters, and I will get to how they work in a minute. But ultimately, what it's looking like is we have these two new zones, and this is called the Extra Monster Zone. And these are going to be called the Main Monster Zones. They're going to change that. So in theory, what the rumor is that basically you will need a Link's monster to either put extra deck monsters here, or you're going to have to put extra deck monsters in there, Synchro, Fusion, etc., to even play them. And that only gives you two zones. So it's basically a race to these two zones. Excuse me. Oh, damn it, my coffee's wearing off already. And these are like no man land zones. So the idea is these two new zones, these extra monster zones, can be occupied by by either player. Doesn't matter. It's just whoever gets to them first gets to use them. However, the theory is that if you put a Link monster there, then you can start putting extra deck monsters here. And I can see why that's going to scare a few people, but here's the good news. Guys, do not freak out, alright? As you know, it's just best to wait till Konami releases or announces the release of the structure deck, because I'm sure they will change the rules beforehand and make it to where these things are going to be understandable. Now, I personally don't think Konami's going to do that. I think they're going to find a different way to make an advantage off of this new Lynx monster, but I don't think that they're going to necessarily make it to where we have to put extra deck monsters here before we can put them here. I really don't think that Konami's going to do that. I think Konami is going to let us continue to play the game the old-fashioned way. For most of us, it's just the pendulum zones are going to be here. The Link monsters, I'm sure, will give some type of advantage with these two zones. I'm sure they'll be called Link zones or something like that here in the States. I don't know how they'll do it or if they'll do it or whatever, but that's my theory. Alright, now for Link monsters, this is a Link 3. So to get out these Link monsters, you need to either use 3 monsters, and they have to be effect monsters, to summon these bad boys. Also, you'll notice that if you look right here, they have a Link 3 instead of a defense stat, because these guys can't be put in defense mode. They cannot. They just can't. So Book of Moon, things like that, doesn't work on them. The other thing is that the way you summon them is you either use 3 effect monsters to make the Link monster, or you use a Link monster, like a Link 2 monster. So what I have a theory on is that they're going to start releasing a new type of monster. You know how like they have tuner monsters for synchros? Well, we're going to get Link monsters or link up monsters for these guys. That'll count for more than one of the links to create this creature. Again, this is all hearsay. This is just, the best assessment because we don't really know. We don't really know how to read Konami's mind or anything of that effect. I do agree, though, with the idea of putting the pendulum scales right here, because, and that's going to be great. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, they don't use their back row, so there's no reason to really have pendulum zones, you know? Because most pendulum decks, I mean, aside from Metaphors, don't really use their back row. And even the Metaphors don't really use it. The only thing that I can think of is if this is the case where we're going to need to summon one of these blue guys first, to get out the rest of the deck, the rest of the extra deck monsters, I have to say that this game is going to get slowed down, like, a lot. Or it's going to be whoever goes first wins. That's going to be what the game is going to turn into, because if this is a no man's land, like, if this is the way it's going to work the way people are theorizing it is, all extra deck monsters can only go in these two spots, which means that you have to put, if you're not going to play Link monsters, you have to put extra deck monsters there. So, I mean, it'd be really easy and quick to just take them, you know what I mean? Throw you know, like, think about this, like hero monsters, for a hero deck, for example. They can throw 3 monsters out there, make an Exceeds, take 1, activate the spell, make Dark Claw, throw it right there, boom, there's 2. And then now they've still got these 5 extra zones for the regular monsters, if they choose to play them. And then this guy can't, you know, because these zones are occupied, this guy can't do anything. Like, you can kiss the era of Exceed, you know what I mean, and do it anything like that. Like, your only goal now is you're going to have to find a way to make your main deck compatible if you do not want to play these Link monsters. If you play these Link monsters and you get one in there, then boom, now this whole thing is open. But Link monsters are really hard to play as of right now. They're really not worth it. Like, think about this. Now, this is going to get released in a starter deck, so we're all going to have to buy it and learn how to play, unfortunately. But it's not a big deal. I mean, the good news is this could potentially slow the game down, bring it back to a little bit of the old days, so maybe the old school players can play again, because these new Link monsters, you know, slow down the game, so you don't have to worry about the pendulum deck being spewed on the board, you know. Although, how hard would it be for a Zodiac deck to take over those zones? I mean, Zodiacs play like 2 in the board with like 2 Exceeds. Daigusto Emerald, and then Trident, and then back row. So, you know, your meta decks are still going to be tough. The only thing that I can think of is that guys like me who really love Lightsworn decks are going to have a really rough time. You may see the resurgence of people trying to boost up the power of their main deck and focus on its power there versus trying to play the extra deck, because it just is not going to seem worth it. Like, you're going to have to play cards like Dark Hole, Regeki, get rid of these, whoever's in these slots here, just so you can play the game. Like, you're going to see, I think you're going to see a resurgence of all sorts of things. Like, you may even see the resurgence of Kaijus really starting to take over, because I know these guys can be sacrificed, so Kaiju, summon the Kaiju here. Oh, look, now that slot's open. Boom. Throw on a new monster. I mean, the truth of the matter is, the game isn't dead. It's not going to die because of this, and it's not the end of the world, guys. In fact, for us older players, this might be the resurgence. I don't know. I really don't know if I necessarily agree with the idea of having to fight for these 2 zones, because I feel like whoever goes first wins. But it's just going to have to be a wait and see. That's all there is going to be when it comes to these new guys. This whole new thing is going to be a wait and see. Because Konami could very well say, oh, no, this is just for Link monsters. This is where these guys go. You still get the rest of this. And, you know, they could just make a mild change of putting the pendulum zones there. Which, who would freak out about that? I mean, also, you'll see tons of stuff. Like, for instance, cards like Summon Limit all of a sudden become a lot more powerful, because now neither player can make anything, you know? I don't know. Just, you know, all I'm saying, guys, is don't freak out about this. I mean, it's not the end of the world for Yu-Gi-Oh! And, yeah, that's all I have to say about it. So, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I read all my comments. So, yeah. Oh, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check out all my other social medias in the description. This is Brian, aka the Chaotic Dragon.